common cause that there are geopolitical rumblings in the Red Sea. This as a group of activists from Yemen decided to disrupt ships destined for Israel in protest against that country's military onslaught on Gaza following the October 7 attacks perpetrated by Hamas on Israeli citizens. But now, following the UK and US launching an attack against Yemeni targets, the group's focus has also shifted to ships destined or associated with the United States and the United Kingdom. Temperatures in the region are decidedly getting hot, with major shipping lines choosing to avoid the risk of using the Suez Canal. They're opting to go around the Cape of Good Hope, which adds several thousand kilometers to their voyages and the costs associated with that. And the trouble is, the tensions don't look like they're going to disappear anytime soon.
This conflict does not de-escalate. I think many producers and many consumers should anticipate some price pressures on some of the goods they require. In the case of producers, some of their components and subcomponents that would be reliant on the Asia-Europe link, be it electronics or any other consumer goods. And in the case of consumers, of course, that might give rise to price pressures that are certainly secondary, but will have an inflationary impact.
With hundreds of ships having to make a detour and traverse near South Africa's shores, the unfortunate part is that the country is unlikely to hugely benefit from all the traffic. The Association of Ship Operators and Agents says it's unfortunate that there are insufficient services available. These would include bunkering services, which speak to the provision of fuel for seafaring vessels and other services. The association says marine-facing businesses in Algoa Bay have historically been doing well in making such provision, but that their services are currently suspended due to a dispute with SARS.
I sincerely hope that the powers that be adopt a sympathetic stand under the circumstances and may make some concession to allow bunkering to continue in Algoa Bay. We have seen and know of vessels that are bunkering in Walvis Bay. Some are going to Mauritius, and that's revenue that could be earned, much needed revenue could be earned in South Africa.
While there's broad concern about inflationary pressures arising from these latest developments, the other worry is that as the world becomes ever more polarized and nations spend more of their GDP on the purposes of security and war, this means that key areas of economic and human development will lose out.
At the end of the day, we are shifting resources from productive to unproductive to destructive activities. Because when a bomb or missile or a tank is manufactured, it's not just that resources are not productive. Each of these end products, a missile, a drone, a tank, ends up destroying more infrastructure, destroying communities, destroying social capital and economic capital. So that's a very significant structural cost push to the economy that makes inflation a lot more entrenched, a lot more difficult to deal with through the instruments of fighting inflation, which is typically monetary policy.
The picture painted is one of a declining global productivity and ever higher inflationary pressures. This doesn't bode well for hopes that central banks, including our very own, would start trimming down interest rates sooner rather than later, with the mantra higher for longer now possibly being a more realistic outcome. Nompumelelo Siziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.